So here's an article out of military.com. Women will likely have to register for the draft, Army Secretary says, October 12, 2015. Women will eventually have to register for the draft if true and pure equality is to be realized in the U.S. military, Army Secretary John McHugh said Monday. If your objective is true and pure equality, he said, then you have to look at all aspects of the roles of women in the military, McHugh said. And registration for the draft will be one of those things that will have to be considered. This reminds me of probably my first run-in against feminism many years ago, before I even considered myself anti-feminist. It was actually in high school. I think I was maybe in 10th grade. So this was over a decade ago. I was sitting in class and some conversation came up. There was one girl who was a very active girl in school activities, extracurricular stuff. And I don't know if she called herself a feminist, but she certainly believed in the idea of fighting for women's rights. And the class was having a discussion about equality and women being equal to men. And I wasn't an anti-feminist back then. I didn't even think much about feminism at all. But it's funny that for a lot of men, a lot of people, feminism is sort of intuitively bullshit. But they don't ever really think about it too much. It kind of just stays on the periphery of their minds. I basically spoke up and I basically raised my hand and I said, this girl was like preaching everybody about the importance of equality. Men and women should be equal. And I felt compelled and I raised my hand and I said something along the lines of, well, if you really want men and women to be equal, then the next time there's a draft, women need to be drafted with men right off the bat immediately to go fight wars. And it was hilarious because suddenly like 8 men in the class, 8 other guys in the class just suddenly started applauding. Like they literally just broke out into an applause. And I was like, okay. These guys, they were literally like bursting at the seams wanting to say pretty much what I just said. And when I just kind of spoke out and I said it, other people in the classroom just were so glad to hear such an obvious thing. And it's sad that feminists, similar to how liberals and Democrats will just call you a racist for having any opinion that seems negative towards blacks, feminists also use these emotional guilt tactics against any of their intellectual opponents. And the reason a lot of those other guys didn't speak up and say something is because they were afraid of being called misogynist or woman haters. It's woman hater to expect women who claim to be for gender equality to actually practice what they preach. You can't say men and women are equal. Do all this lobbying for the female gender under the presumption that they're somehow victimized or treated not equal to men, and then have these blatantly obvious double standards where, when it comes to drafts, women shouldn't get drafted, men go die first. It's bullshit. And it gives a horrible reputation to women. Feminists reinforce every negative stereotype about women. Okay? Every stereotype that women are emotional, stereotypes that women are narcissistic and self-centered, they can't think beyond themselves. Feminists exhibit that, always. And they just kind of prove negative stereotypes about women. Because feminists are so self-centered that they'll say that there's a patriarchy, that men have it better off than women, and yet are so self-centered and narcissistic that they completely overlook the fact that men are like 95% of garbage collector employees. The people who collect your trash are 90+% men. The people who are paving roads and building buildings, literally the concrete foundation of society is set up and erected, pun intended. I guess you need to be capable of an erection to erect tall, towering structures of civilization. At the same time, even though men are these grueling jobs, or the highest number of workplace accidents and injuries, the vast majority of suicides, feminists are so self-centered, so petty in their narcissistic, emotion-driven ways that they can't even see beyond the bounds of their own experience, which is incredibly narcissistic and just reinforces negative stereotypes about women. So, yeah. You know, you want equality, you fucking got it. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoy my videos, you can support me on Patreon. That's a backdoor way to fight YouTube's censorship of my channel and my videos. Take care.
That's not very traditional, and you know, I think that a man should really pay for the first date.
Fuck that. We're splitting the bill.